And the question is, how are we going to really almost deprogram these people who have signed up for the cult of Trump?
Deprogrammed. Let me tell you about one specific incident. Let's talk about what happened to Anna Morgan-Lloyd. She's a grandmother from Indiana. For some background, she's a Trump supporter, and she was in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. According to a report by American Greatness, she did enter the Capitol building. She walked around, paraded, picketed for about 5 minutes. She caused no damage, no vandalism, no violence. Lloyd was arrested, spent some time in jail, and because she couldn't afford her own attorney, she was given Heather Shaner as her court-appointed public defender. And that's where the story gets interesting. The very person that was supposed to defend Lloyd actually forced her to read a laundry list of films and read a laundry list of books, watch a list of documentaries, and attempt to re-educate her. And you can see a list here of some of the stuff that she was instructed to consume, including Just Mercy, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, and Mudbound. Now, if you're wondering she had to do this, she was highly encouraged to do so as part of her plea deal. Simply put, she had to change her thinking and apologize for her white privilege in order to get a more favorable sentence. Here to react now, Glenn Greenwald, author of Securing Democracy. Glenn, you know, you are not a Trump supporter. I would imagine you disagree with most of the people that stood in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, but you're also an attorney, Glenn. And I wonder, are you troubled? Do you find it appropriate that a public defender, and a court for that matter, in considering a plea deal, would ask a defendant to sort of reprogram themselves, consume some media content, rethink their entire worldview? Is that the right role for an attorney?
Obviously not. I almost feel like it should provoke some kind of official discipline. The role of a lawyer is to do everything in your power most zealously to defend the interest of your client, not to propagandize or re-educate them for them to think better politically. But, I don't know if you saw, there was a poll of 46 countries released this morning that demonstrated that the country in which the American media is held in the lowest esteem and in which they're most distrusted is the United States out of 46 countries. And when someone hears Katie Couric or people like her who live in $25 million co-ops on the Upper East Side of Manhattan announce that anyone who disagrees with her has to be deprogrammed, it's really not difficult to understand why that mentality is so off-putting. And I think it's a major reason why people have lost faith and trust in these institutions.
I think you're right. You add that to lying to the public about the origins of COVID-19 or the effectiveness of hydroxychloroquine or any number of lies told by quote unquote the mainstream media over more than a year's time frame, and you will lose trust. I think that's quite logical. Let me give you another example. Ivermectin, that's the current debate. It's a therapeutic that many are saying is somewhat of a miracle drug. Perhaps. We'll see if it works out in treating COVID-19. But even the idea of ivermectin, Glenn, is totally pushed off of social media. I mean, you will get banned, you'll get red flagged. Brett Weinstein, for example, has had his podcast almost kicked off of YouTube for even considering that ivermectin could be a good potential therapeutic. Now, today, it's announced the University of Oxford is testing ivermectin as a possible treatment for COVID-19. I can't help but avoid the idea, Glenn, that these stories are connected. It's all coming back to some sort of mind control. Why can we not even consider possible alternatives to, I guess, what is endorsed by Big Pharma?
I think you put your finger on exactly the point. When you say that some people say this is a potentially effective treatment, by some people, what you're referring to are medical doctors and scientists, as credentialed as anyone, including Dr. Fauci. And some of them have even testified before the Senate and testified that they believe this drug holds promise for treating COVID. And that Senate testimony itself was removed by Google, by YouTube, which is owned by Google, on the grounds that it violated their policy. And I think that so much more than trying to ban a particular view because it's dangerous, which is their excuse, what they're really doing is training an entire population to accept authoritarianism, that our political debates from now on are going to be constricted and limited so that any questioning of or disagreement with anointed authorities will become simply banned from the internet. We've been trained for years now to accept that. The coronavirus pandemic intensified that greatly. And I think that's really what the playbook is going forward, is to ensure that official pronouncements are insulated from any kind of dissent, which is what makes this so dangerous.
So to draw bright, big boundaries that are official pronouncements and those with the credence of mainstream media that live inside there, and to throw down censorship and consequences for any of us who dare to venture just slightly outside of those boundaries. I think you're right. I think that's exactly right. Glenn Greenwald, always good to talk to you. Thank you.
Good to be with you, Will. Thanks.